All right, we're starting live a little bit earlier to make sure that folks have a chance to stream in. Let's see if we have folks coming through here. All right, looks like we do. All right, so we've started off a little bit earlier, and we're gonna get going right exactly at 2 p.m. my time, 12 p.m. Eastern, and my time meaning Argentinian Standard Time here. All right, so come on in, folks. If you're coming from somewhere, please feel free to let me know where you're coming in from. I am in beautiful Buenos Aires, as I like to call it. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and we'll get started off in 3 minutes as soon as our time hits. All right. Started off a little bit early today to make sure we have all of the technical issues worked out and that we have we don't have any hiccups, and so we can have a smooth conversation. Keep an eye on the chat here. If you do have any questions, pop them in and I'll address them near the end. If you are all right, we have Karendi coming in from South Carolina, USA. Welcome, welcome. Rashid coming in from Maryland, US. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started off right on the hour. Welcome from Maryland, USA, from Delhi, India. Welcome, Ayanek. Folks, if you're just tuning in, let me know where you're from. All right, I'm in, again, I'll say it again, I'm in beautiful Buenos Aires, Argentina. Beautiful city, lots of great sunshine. S. Rahman coming in from Virginia. Welcome. We're going to get started off in 2 minutes, and we'll dive right into the subject. I tuned in a little bit earlier today to make sure that there are no technical issues or anything like that. And so thank you for joining me here. James coming in from Glasgow in the UK. Welcome, James. Glad you were able to make it. We have community members from all over the place, and we have business analysts all around the globe. And so it's always interesting to know where folks are tuning in from. And this is truly a global profession, because I can't think of a single country that does not yet need that doesn't need business analysts or have business analysts. Levy coming in from Oklahoma City. Welcome, Levy or Levi. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I'll say Levi from Oklahoma City. All right, we have some of the folks here. It is not going to show your name. We have some folks coming in from Kuwait. I think I can check that from Savita. I have the LinkedIn window open as well. For the folks listening in on YouTube, I unfortunately can't, I might not be able to see your comments as quickly as I can see the LinkedIn ones. I have LinkedIn open as well as the streaming software. And for the folks that are coming in right now, we're going to get started off in 1 minute. And we're going to dive right in. All right. For those of you who attended the last live session, the conversation was, we had to have some tough, realistic conversations, but this one's going to be a lot more fun. So, and I mean, I'm going to enjoy it for sure. Hopefully you enjoy it as well. I'm going to enjoy it because I love the subject matter. I said it right the first time, Levy. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. Welcome everybody. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you're from. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat, and at the end of this workshop, I'll go through and I'll answer any questions that you have. And we're at time, so I'm going to dive right in and get started so that I can respect your time and make sure that you're getting the information that you need. Today's conversation is going to be one that, again, like I said, I'm going to be enjoying, but we're going to be talking about exactly what I teach in the BAPC course. And I'm holding this workshop to kind of give you an idea. Well, not an idea. I'm going to show you exactly what I taught in the 2021 instance of the course. But I'm holding this workshop because the enrollment for the course also closes tomorrow. And I've gotten a lot of questions that have come through. I've answered a lot of questions over email. And this is an opportunity for you folks to actually see the substance and the materials that are actually in the course. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to be walking you through our 2021 instance, and I'll be clicking through the videos. I'll be showing you the lecture notes that our students work with, and you'll kind of get a way better sense, like a really material sense of the subject matter that's in there. And part of the reason why I want to do this is because I think that this program is so different from anything else that exists out there, that it's really, I don't think that there's no amount of talking I can do to really kind of justify it. So I really just have to show it to you so that you can kind of start to understand how this course is taught. All right. Again, if you're new and you're coming in, let us know where you're coming in from. With all of that said, I'm going to dive right in. As always, I'm going to put something into the chat here. So if you go to bablocks.com/live, and I'm going to put that right into the chat so you have access to it right there. If you go to this page here, this is the page where I'm going to be hosting all of the live sessions and all the materials for the live sessions moving forward. So the links from our last live session were in here as well. And it just makes the whole kind of running the whole workshop here makes it a lot easier if I can just put everything on one page and send you one link. But I'll be talking about these different links as we're going through here. All right, so I just dropped that in the chat, bablocks.com/live, and you'll land here and you'll get access to all of these links. And I'll explain those to you in a minute. BAPC, what this course essentially is the next iteration of our requirements and specifications course. So the last 2 times that I taught this course, it was called requirements and specifications. And I had named it that because that's essentially what you're learning to do in the course. But the course has kind of evolved a lot more now based on a lot of the feedback that I've received from our students of the previous sessions. To the point where I think it's mature enough to kind of have a bit more of a mature name. And so the course has been relabeled and rebranded to BAPC, and also because it also includes some things that are not necessarily requirements or specifications. I'll talk about that in a second. So you can just go to bablocks.com/BAPC if you want to see this page. Yes, this is live, Sohail. Welcome. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We are live right now, so if you have questions, you get to ask them in the chat. Basically, yeah, this summary, this is requirements specifications course. It was 8 weeks before. It's been expanded to 10 weeks now because of the fact that it has some more material that I've added into it. But this page will kind of give you a general idea of what the course is about. But if you actually go down, have a lot of Q&As, you can find out about the price and everything else on this page here. You can find out about the schedule. But if you really want to see the details, download the full syllabus, and I'll pull this up a little bit later on and let you know what's actually inside it, and we can walk through it together as well. Sohail, yes, it is being recorded here on LinkedIn. So Sohail is asking if this is being recorded. Yes, it is. All right, welcome, Ontario, Canada, my hometown. For those folks from the US or anywhere else in the world, Ontario is the province. Toronto is the biggest city in the province. So welcome, Sohail. Right now, I'm not in Toronto, Sohail, as you might be able to tell. I don't know if you can see the sunshine behind me here, but I'm in a very different place right now, but originally from Ontario as well. All right, so let's dive in. The students who have enrolled already, the folks that are already in the course, as soon as they log in, this is essentially what they see. Okay, so this is a live instance of that course. You come in and there is a welcome video, and essentially what I do in that welcome video is I kind of walk you through the platform a little bit, and I show you I show you some of the things you can do to kind of get yourself up and running onto the platform. So all of our lectures and all of our office hours are scheduled here already. You can kind of sync this up with your calendar, etc. So that's kind of the introduction video, but you'll see that other than the introduction video, this course is actually empty. And no, this is not the full course, because when I click over here to the 2021 instance of the course, you'll get a much clearer picture of exactly what the course looks like at the end, right? So this is a full course that my students and I have gone through. in the 2021 instance. And essentially what we have here is we have a number of different blocks that contain all of the materials that that we cover in the course. And so if I was to kind of scroll up, I'll give you a quick idea, right? Quick introduction video, but the mental models, for example, is where we started the course last year. And when I expand this, you can kind of start to see that it shows you all of the different blocks on the side here and makes the navigation a little bit easier, but you can start to see some of the materials that are in the course, right? This course evolves every single year, right? Just like agile products evolve every single year, this course is no different than that. And what essentially happens is that the course, part of the reason why I need to teach this course live is because of the fact that I get to know our students. I kind of get to know what areas they're kind of struggling with as an analyst, and I tailor make a lot of the materials and the examples and the projects that we go through to the students to make sure that they're getting exactly what they need. And that's something that I can't do if I just give you a bunch of video courses, standard video courses. That's something that I can't do. And that's part of the reason why I like to teach this course live, because you come in live, we kind of get to know each other a little bit, and I start to get a sense of where you're at, and then I can start to help you kind of start to fill in a lot of the gaps that each of the different students have. The project that we work on in this course, and I'll show you some details of the course, the project that we work on is essentially for a fictitious company called Peterson and Baker. You get introduced to a lot of the different players inside of that company, and there's a lot of internal politics in that company, but we kind of work our way through. We do a little bit of stakeholder analysis, and then we start to kind of dive into the project, which for this year is going to be in the legal domain. So company basically has a lot of legal assets that they need to protect, and it's our job to try to help them figure out how to kind of build an enterprise solution around that. Okay, that's kind of in a nutshell. That's essentially what the course is. But when you in 2021's version, I'll kind of walk you through this, and then I'll tell you what the differences are going to be for the session that's going to be starting off next week. All right, so essentially the way that the format of the actual course is that it's essentially a blend of me making pre-recorded videos, right, and sending them to you. Usually I'm asking you a question or I'm telling you what's going on at Peterson and Baker, and I pre-record a video and I send it to all of our students. You kind of watch that. You know, you might get one on a Tuesday, you might get one on a Thursday, and it starts to kind of get you onboarded onto the project that we're all working on, right? And it's meant to kind of simulate a realistic situation that you would experience in any job that you're kind of starting off on. And so we kind of start off that way, right? So last year, what we did is I kind of sent everybody a warm-up question. I essentially kind of took at some of the different folks that we had inside of Peterson and Baker, and I said I essentially asked our students, even before the course started, I asked our students to kind of give it a little bit of thought and to do a little bit of stakeholder analysis, but really I wanted them to identify who they thought was the product owner based on certain aspects that I describe in this video, right? Bit of a warm-up question, gets you thinking a little bit gets you kind of familiar with the folks that are in the company and gets you thinking a little bit about who the product owner might be. And already before you even start the course, you're already starting to think in terms of stakeholder analysis. And then we kind of take that to its natural conclusion, because we need to understand who our stakeholders are before we can really produce anything, right? That's kind of where things start in the course. Now, the format of the course is, so this was like a pre-recorded video that I sent to our members. What happens then is on every Saturday, we all get together for about 3 hours. It's a combination of lecture and workshop. So I basically talk about the subjects that are kind of part of the core of the course, and I'll show you a few examples of that right now. But let me go to the replay of the lecture here, for example. The replay of the lecture, this video right here is a live lecture that all of our students came into. We had a lot of conversations around the subject matter that we covered, lots of back and forth live. And then I put the replay up, and this replay is available to you for as long as the product, this course, which I'm calling a product, this, as long as this course exists, you have access to the replays of the course. All right. I encourage our students to kind of speak openly. So I can't play any of the audio here because I've committed to our students that this is a private conversation that we've had. Like, you'll never see any of our students in here, but I don't want to play the videos because our students talk and they say, hey, how would you deal with this? How would you deal with that? All of that material is private. It's only within our course here. But the students who've taken the course have the ability to come back to it anytime that they want and go through it whenever they need to. And it's the actual customized version of that program for that group of students that took it, right? It's not just standard materials the way that a lot of you might see in a lot of other places. All right, so for example, lecture number 1, what do the lectures look like, right? I start at a very basic level, right? We started there in the 2021 instance. This year, I'm going to make a little bit of changes because I'm going to get you ramped up a lot more quickly, and then I'm going to push some of the theory to the back, and some of the theory, quite frankly, is a little bit too complicated from our 2021 version, so that's going into a totally separate program. Right. And again, the idea here is that I have to constantly make sure that the program itself is matching the reality that you're going to expect on the ground. And that's why it needs to be taught and developed in this way, right? There's a core set of skills that you're going to be learning, but it isn't just standard. It isn't a program that will ever become stale because it is constantly moving with the pace of industry and the profession. So essentially in this lecture, I basically talked about some of the basic mental models. You might have seen our workshop. I did a couple of, I think it was last week, on the P3 framework, right? And the P3 framework is something that we use very heavily here. The framework that you see on the on the screen there is called the S5 framework, and that's a little bit more of an advanced framework. It's kind of more for the business transformation, very senior analysts to kind of start to make sense of their world. That's what that framework is for, the one that you're seeing here. But I introduce it to you, and I kind of talk to you a little bit about how you can use it to think, but we don't rely on it a lot, right? We rely very heavily on the P3 framework for this course. And if you don't know what that is, I can find the link for the conversation that we had, because I kind of walked through it in quite a bit of detail in our previous live session. So that's essentially the format of the course, right? So we have a combination of pre-recorded videos, and by pre-recorded, I don't mean it was pre-recorded last year and I'm just reusing it. I mean, I'm pre-recording it and I'm kind of sending it to you, but it's being recorded as part of our instance of the course. I'm just pre-recording it so that you have a chance to kind of watch it on your own time and start to kind of get yourself warmed up to come into the course, all right? It's a combination of those. It's our live lecture replays. And then what we have is every Tuesday, we have an extra hour for office hours. And the office hours are meant as a space for students to come in and either ask questions about the course or to talk about anything else that they need help with, right? It's basically like an open door. I usually won't start with anything, right? Folks come in the office hours. I say, okay, who's got questions? And we basically just talk like a regular office hours that you might have at a college or university. And if we run out of material, I don't want to waste that hour. So I'll usually just kind of come up with something that's not part of the course, but it's very relevant to your career. And I'll start talking about that to make sure we kind of make use of that full hour, even if you don't have any questions. So I don't want to waste I don't want to waste a single minute of this course, because there's so much that could be taught. And that's kind of the purpose that our office hours serve, all right? So hopefully all this is making sense. I know it's to you folks, you're listening to me talk, but I don't get any feedback. If you can give me a thumbs up, I know you're still here and that my internet connection hasn't cut off or anything like that. I'm just kind of talking to myself. So give me a quick thumbs up, and I'll know that I'm still going and everything is good. If you let me just see here. I think I'll just do a quick system check to make sure things are good too. All right, it looks like they are. And if you have any questions, thank you for the thumbs ups. If you do have any questions, we are live, so just drop them into the chat. And what I'll do is I'll address them. Thank you, Manak. Oh, you got this. Thank you so much. Love the encouragement. Thanks, folks. All right. So I'll keep on talking. I'll keep on talking. Let me. I just started using. I'll tell you a funny story later on. But I'm learning how to use emojis right now. I know I'm catching up for many years, and so I love the emojis of the conversation here. All right, thank you everyone. So let's talk a little bit more about the subject matters. And if you have any questions about it, like if you want to see something, just let me know, and I'll walk you through the details. But let me show you a couple of other things here. Okay, one of the things I like to do in the course is that before as we're kind of getting warmed up for the lecture, I release the lecture notes ahead of time. And sometimes it's lecture prep, like where, for example, last year what we did was I have a series of pre-recorded videos from our fundamentals course that it's kind of like a baseline level knowledge that everybody needs to have before you even kind of take this course. So one of the things I like to do is kind of give you this. And this is as soon as you enroll. A couple of days after that, what happens is you get this and you can start to kind of get yourself warmed up before you even hit the first lecture. And it kind of gives you a very good running head start so that you're not kind of coming into day one cold, right? Again, the course is 10 weeks, but I have been a business analyst for close to 2 decades, and I always struggle to kind of squeeze in as much as I possibly can into those 10 weeks. And so I do a lot of things like this to make sure that you have enough materials to learn from, and also that you're getting as much value as you possibly can, as you possibly can from this material. Because I'll tell you, if I was given the choice, right, and time was of no object, I would make this a full year course, because there is so much that you could learn. There are so many things that you could refine to become very good at your job, that that this could take a long time. And look, I'm kind of distilling I've done 7 years of education, right? I've done an undergrad in IT, I've done a post-diploma in software development, I've done a master's degree in information systems, and then on top of that, I've been doing this for close to 2 decades, right? So it's like my challenge as somebody who's doing this from somebody who's trying to teach is not, oh, what am I teaching, right? My challenge is how do I try to figure out how to condense that much knowledge and experience into something that folks can absorb relatively easily in a 10-week period, right? That's my big challenge. So you're never going to run out of stuff to do in this course, right? And so for some of my students, and I don't want to talk you out of taking this course by saying this, but it's not an easy course. This course is quite difficult. There's a lot of stuff that gets covered here, but by the end of the 10 weeks, the hope is that you have a good sense of how to actually do the work of a business analyst, right? It's not theoretical. You're producing business requirements, you're doing specifications, we're hopping on calls, and you're saying, hey, how does this look? And I give you feedback, and you might have to go take it back and redo bits and parts of it. So that's kind of the flavor of the course here. So, and I know there's a lot of stuff in the chats here. I'll get to that in just 1 second. So last year, this is how we went through, and so this will be happening again this year. And I'll give you a general overview of some of the other aspects here, right? So let's say, for example, in block 3, we went through and we talked about scoping and sizing. And now, scoping a project is not an easy task. It is probably, if I was to kind of try to rate it here in real time, I would say that it's probably like in the top 3 most difficult things that I have to do as a business analyst, right? And so we spent an entire week just kind of talking about how do you actually scope a project, and what different types of scope elements are there, and what are all the different sources of scope, right? A lot of business analysts have this perception that the way that you try to figure out the scope of a project is you just ask your customer, right? And if your customer asks for it, well, that's eventually going to become a requirement. That's not how our profession works, right? And that's if a junior business analyst says that to me, I say, yeah, it's legitimate for somebody who has 2 to 3 years of experience. But if you're about 4 or 5 years in, you can't afford to be working that way anymore, right? And so so we talk about that, and I don't want, I'm going down the path of starting to teach this course, so I'll try to pull myself back out. But scoping, right? The part of the reason why I came to this page is to kind of give you an idea of the notes, right? A lot of the notes that you get in the course, pull these up for example. So I like to kind of make the lecture notes available to you ahead of time so that you can have a good sense of what we're going to be covering in the lecture / workshop. And so our conversation around scoping, and some of this material is going to change this year. I'm going to be kind of refining it even more than what we had for last year. But we kind of use our S5 framework to start understanding the concept of scope. And why is it so difficult to scope a project, right? I paint a very clear picture for you about why understanding stakeholders, stakeholder needs, stakeholder intentions, vested interests, history inside the company, all of that stuff factors into your scope, right? We can't just treat critical elements of our work so clinically, right? To say, okay, oh, it's time for me now to do scope. Oh, I just have a checklist to follow. That's not how this profession works, especially not if you want to be somebody who is very, very good at their job, right? Those types of analysts do exist, and I always encourage analysts like that to kind of up their skills, because if you're just going through a checklist, you got to always remember the other side of that coin, right? How much value is that providing to your employer? Should they be compensating you when the work that you're doing isn't really that analytical, right? It's very it's very I don't want to say easy, but if you're kind of taking the easier way out, for a lack of a better way of saying it, right? Why should your employer pay you, right? So I'm always encouraging through all of the materials that we cover for you to kind of think a little bit more in a more sophisticated way, and to always be making sure that you're doing the things that a professional has to do to make sure that their clients and their employers are getting what they need, right? And a lot of times, some analysts who kind of look at it at this profession in more of a clinical way, right? They try to kind of open up the BAPC and say, okay, I'm just going to learn this skill today, or I'm just going to learn that skill today. Like that it's not an effective way of learning the profession. So, and again, I don't want to get into start teaching the course. I always find myself going down that path because I'm so excited about teaching the course, but this is so you essentially get a set of lecture notes that'll kind of give you an idea of how scoping actually works, right? And what is the ideal situation versus less than ideal situation, and what should you do if you run into a less than ideal situation when it comes to scoping, but also when it comes to requirements and specifications and everything else that you're expected to do. So so I'm hoping that this is kind of gives you, I mean, I don't know how to describe this without actually showing it to you, and that's part of the reason why I'm here today, because I have a vision, right? I have a vision for the way that I think business analysis should be taught, and that vision, I think the only way I can make that happen is to build something like this, right? And I haven't come across anything else that I could kind of point to say, hey, oh yeah, my course is kind of like that, right? I just don't see anything like this existing. And so that's why I wanted to come here and kind of show it to you in person. So I'll go through a couple of the chat messages, but there's a lot of other, I mean, there's so much material we can walk through here, and I can kind of give you an idea if you have any questions, but I'll go through a couple of the comments here, and we'll take a look at, we have a previous student here, I believe, is that Danielle? I think maybe Danielle. I am one of the previous students who had taken this course. It's above and beyond met my expectations. Okay, thank you for that, Danielle. The other thing I should mention here is that our course has what I like to call the evergreen promise, right? And I mean, I don't advertise this stuff. You won't see it anywhere on the page, but when you come into the course, I'll tell you that you have the ability to audit the course for a significantly reduced rate in the future, right? So you take the course now, if you feel like it's right for you and you sign up for it now, next year you say, Imal, what's changed in the course? And I'll tell you, hey, I've added this, I've taken this out. Are you interested in auditing it? And that option is available to you. And the cost of it is essentially going to be 1/3. And you can essentially just continue to audit the program as many times as you want, right? And so That's kind of, I call that the evergreen promise. And the whole reason why I do that is because our profession changes regularly, right? And there may be things that kind of pop up that are of huge amounts of value. Like this year, I haven't mentioned it yet. This year, I'm going to be putting ChatGPT, right, in the curriculum. Why? Well, if you've seen the 4 workshops that we did inside of our community, a couple of those videos are also available on YouTube. If you've seen those workshops and you see what ChatGPT can do for a business analyst, then you'll understand why I'm including it as a tool that an analyst should be using inside of BAPC. And again, I mean, I don't advertise these things openly and I don't kind of blast them out, but hopefully you'll start to get a sense of what the course is all about in just by going through here. Okay. So let's take a look. What else do we have here? So, I mean, we have a whole section on business requirements, right? And the business requirements section is quite heavy. So I'm going to see if I can actually pull up, just bear with me for a second here. I'm going to see if I can pull up the, I'll pull up the detailed syllabus of the course so that we can take a look. And I'll quickly just walk you through the syllabus so you can start to see what the difference is between 2021 version and what you're going to be learning here. Okay. So in the first section, right, in 2021 here, we talked about mental models and I kind of gave like a big theoretical overview. This year things are going to be different because I am going to give you basic orientation, and then I'm going to onboard you onto the project that we need to produce requirements and specifications from. And there's a huge sense of urgency because our fictitious company, Peterson and Baker, they've got a big project coming up, and you're essentially going to get onboarded onto that project. I'm going to fill you in about what's been going on inside that company. I'm going to ask you to do some stakeholder analysis and kind of guide you through that process. But you're going to need to get in. And as part of the onboarding process, what does that mean? That means you kind of join Peterson and Baker's infrastructure, right? You get access to their Microsoft Visio, you get access to our SharePoint site, you get access to all of the tools that you need to do the job, right? MS Teams is what we're using this year to teach the course. And I switched from 2021 we used Zoom to teach the course. I intentionally switched it over to Microsoft Teams because that's the tool that you're most likely to run into in the enterprise space, right? None of the clients that I've ever worked for have used Zoom as their conferencing software, right? Almost every single one has used WebEx in the past, used to be very popular. GoToMeeting used to be very popular, but today it's all Microsoft Teams, right? So that's why I'm going to onboard you onto Microsoft Teams. I'm going to get our Azure site set up so that you have access to a backlog, and that's kind of like part of your onboarding process, right? And that's essentially what you can expect to see in week number 1. Week number 2, right, is process design, okay? Originally in 2021, I had that baked into a little bit more into the business and requirements, but I've pulled that up into the course now. So week number 2, you're going to learn how to do process design, and you're going to learn to do it in the way that I do it for my clients, which is very different than kind of the standard legacy way of doing process design. And you'll kind of learn about the benefits of doing it the way that I do it in a huge way. It's kind of like I've kind of invented this way of doing process design work that has requirements baked into it, and it kind of serves a couple of different purposes at the same time, right? So you're going to learn to do the process design work there. Then we're going to get into requirements analysis and solution design. That's going to be weeks 3, 4, and 5, where all we're doing is business requirements and solution design, right? And we are going to jointly work together to put together our requirements documents, and we are going to be kind of building out an idea of what a solution is supposed to look like based on those requirements. Okay. Then week number 6, you are going to take this MS Azure backlogs, right? Some companies use Jira. This is Microsoft's equivalent of that, right? And I'm using it because we needed a fully integrated tool set, and Azure is part of that tool set. So we're going to be using Azure backlogs, and you're going to start building out the product backlog for the project to execute. And all throughout this time, you're kind of getting an idea of why we're doing things in this sequence, and you're starting to start to understand where I mean, what exactly is a requirement? Why are we doing it now instead of later on? Or why didn't we do it earlier on, right? We have all of these conversations. But within the context of Peterson and Baker, because Peterson and Baker, again, is kind of our client, right? And so you can kind of see yourself as a business analyst, and I'm hiring you onto Peterson and Baker, and we're going to try to execute on this project together, so that and you're going to be producing a lot of the deliverables for that project. That's the format of this course. So once we do our product backlog, then we dive into specifications, right? I see courses out there that'll teach a very limited tool set and make it seem as though it is maybe everything you need to know. When it comes to specifications, the number of tools that you have available to you to do your specifications is so huge that, I mean, learning 3, 4, 5 different things doesn't even come close to teaching you what you need to know. Doesn't even come close to teaching you what you need to know to actually be able to do a good job, right? And part of the reason there is a 3-month support window, which I didn't talk about. Again, there are a ton of features about this course that I don't talk about, but it's good that they're all coming up in this conversation. There is a 3-month support window, right after our last lecture, where you basically have the ability to go and continue doing other specifications than you want. You can come back to me and ask me for feedback, and I'll give you feedback, and I'll kind of help you to learn all of the different specification tools that you find helpful for your work and that you're comfortable using. You kind of get support, continual support on doing that, right? And I can guarantee that for three months after the course. I mean, I still have conversations with a lot of our students from 2021 who just ask me, hey, do you have 30 minutes? And if I do, I'll do it. But after 3 months, it's hard for me to guarantee it, right? So after 3 months, it'll be kind of like, if I have the time and I have the cycles, then I can. Otherwise, I may not be able to. But 3 months guaranteed that you can get that kind of support from me. All right. Let's talk about, okay, so before I go on, let me take a look at a couple more of the other comments. Deb says, great to hear, Danielle. Can we connect on LinkedIn? Okay, yeah, for sure. And folks, connect with each other, connect with me on LinkedIn here. Don't be shy, you know, it's, we're all professionals here, so feel free to send me a LinkedIn request. You know, if you want to connect with each other in the chat, go ahead and do that. And I think we have some conversations happening between, yes, Danielle and Deb. All right, great. So lots of exchange between you guys, which I love. But let's see, do you have any questions that you want me to address about the course? Is there anything specific that you have in mind that you want me to cover? And as you're typing that, I'll tell you that, you know, we're not going to waste the other 30 minutes here, because there's a ton more stuff that I can talk about when it comes to this course. If you go to bablocks.com/BAPC, or you can, if you land on bablocks.com, you just go to BAPC here. It'll take you to that page, and you can just go through the FAQs if you have any questions. But I'll wait to see if we have any questions coming in from the folks here. It doesn't look like we do. And I can see that I'm still live, which is good. All right, let's talk about a couple of other things. Let me see, where's a good place to go here? So this one's gonna be a little bit free form, because I didn't want to prescribe it too much, because I want to just kind of see where the conversation takes us with this one. So I think that, so you've gotten a good idea of what the course looks like. Is there anything else in the course that you'd like to see? Is there anything here from the 21 instance that you think is useful for you, right? If I was to open up this lecture, all right, we talk about business requirements, and let me click through a couple of things here. I mean, we talk about good business requirements, how we cover good business requirements. This part of the video, actually, I have a YouTube video on our channel that kind of describes this as well. But let's go to the actual replay of the business requirements. And you can see that essentially the format of the course, again, the format of the lectures is me kind of walking you through the process. Oh, let's go through that. All right, and we have our stakeholder analysis here. We have our stakeholder analysis here that kind of covers, you know, so you kind of get an idea of the lecture. and the format of the course. The only difference is that I'm not going to be in the studio the way that I am in here, right? So I'm kind of on traveling right now, and so it's going to be you guys coming in here, and we'll have it up exactly the way that this live session is. That's really the biggest difference in the format that you're seeing here. Downloading and printing of the notes for here. Functional specifications, we can kind of walk through some of the details of the functional specifications if you like as well. I'll keep an eye on the chat here. Let's take a see. We got some thumbs ups. All right, thank you very much. Very, very much appreciate it. Question here says, I don't have a question per se. I'm just super excited for this course to start. Okay, yeah, me too. Look, I forgot how much I love teaching this course because I didn't teach it in 2022. Like last year, I didn't teach the course, even though I had planned to. There were some other things that I had to prioritize over teaching the course. And I'd really kind of forgotten how much I love doing this, right? And so now that we have students coming in and we're kind of getting ready to do we're getting ready to do the details and kind of getting ramped up, I get very, very excited. So that's why I'm basically ready to dive into a lot of this material now and start teaching you, but it's, that'll start next week. Levy asks, what is the cost of implementing this course to my user base as me? A little BA humor, of course. The cost of the course, I'll show you right now, is right here. Let me open up what's the cost of the course right here. So the price of the course for this session is $3,000 USD for non-members, and it is $2,500 for members. And members have member pricing essentially. So it costs money to get into our membership, and part of the benefit of that is that they get member pricing for the courses. So I hope that answers your question, Levy. The other thing I should mention, it is all inclusive, so there's no extra cost to you for the tools or anything like that. All that cost includes your access to Microsoft Visio, Azure, Office, all the tools that we use in the course is included as part of that, and those tools are available to you at until the end of the course. If you want it for the extra 3 months, I can also make them available to you at that, but you'd have to kind of request that because the access cuts off at the end of the course. All right. Levy says, thank you, worth it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It definitely is worth it. I'll tell you that. Look, folks, I've been doing this for such a long time, and part of the reason why I teach this course is because I have a view. I really want people to do this job properly, right? Of course, yeah, it is a business. For sure, it's a business, right? BA Blocks isn't a charity, right? It is a business, but if it was just a business, it wouldn't have taken me 6 years to start kind of building and selling a course. I would have done it in 6 months, right? The reason why it's taken me so long to do this, and the reason why we go through so much effort to make this course good, is because aside from me wanting to create a good business with BA Blocks, I genuinely want a lot of analysts out there to really learn how to do this job well. And so that's why it requires that level of effort to make it happen. So Deb says, I haven't been able to get access to ChatGPT, always at capacity. Would that be a barrier to full participation? I think, Deb, what we can do with that is that if you're not able to get access to it, I'll hop on with you on a call for the parts of the course where I recommend you use ChatGPT, and I'll just use my account, and you can kind of steer, and I'll you tell me where to go, and I'll drive for you, and we can kind of use my account. And I think that's a workaround to it. There's always a risk with tools like this where it may disappear, right? Because ChatGPT, again, it's totally new. They might just cut access to everybody. Nobody knows really where it's going to go. But the tools being available, if they're available, we're going to use them. If you can, between now and then, keep on trying to get yourself an account. But if not, we'll find some sort of a workaround. There are lots of workarounds that we could use. What is the cost of membership? Our membership is currently $400 USD per year. And maybe I can show you what's inside our membership while we're here. Why not just take a dive into our actual community here, right? So the big picture that you see here, I'll give you a quick idea of what this looks like, and I'll go to the rest of the questions. But when you land here, essentially you have access to the stuff that is part of the plan that you're on. Everybody who comes here, right, the section here I can collapse all of these to give you an idea what this looks like. So the section where it's for everyone, everybody has access to community home, live sessions, and replays, and you have to request access. So when you become a member, you have the ability to request access to this career strategy space. And what this is essentially what I do to the folks here is that we accept 10 people at a time, and I help you build a career strategy, right? So that's kind of included as part of your membership. And so you come here, you can request access, and that puts you on the list. And I basically just go through the list, with 10 people at a time, and help them build career strategies that are kind of customized to their own situation, essentially, right? One of the questions that always pops up is people always ask me for advice. Hey, what should a business analyst do here, and what should a business analyst do there? It's very difficult to give very specific advice without actually knowing what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, like what kind of markets do you have access to when it comes to employment, right? What kind of skill sets do you have? What are your natural aptitudes? Are you more technical? Are you more business person, right? It's hard to give people advice on very specific things, and our career strategy space gives us the ability to to do that. And I should also mention our membership right now is only opening once a month, and that may become twice a month in the next couple of months. But our membership, I believe, is opening up next week, and it's only open for one day, and that's when everybody joins. And the reason why I do that is because I like to make sure I have the ability to reach out to each and every person who joins us, show them around, offer to show them around if they want to take me up on that offer, and keeping the doors open all the time makes it hard, because somebody can join us on a Sunday night while I'm outside enjoying a great steak or something like that, and it's not very practical. So I've kind of our membership only opens once a month, and if you go to our website, I'll show you what to do if you want to learn about that. If you go to this BA Spaces, what it'll do is it will find out how to join us here. And if you sign up to this, you'll get notified of our next enrollment window here, right? And that'll give you an idea of how to get inside of our community. So going back to this, so we have all these different spaces. If you go into the community home, inside of the community home, this is where our members basically ask questions and I answer them. And this is where I make a lot of the announcements. So for example, I have a bit of a super post here about ChatGPT, where I tell our members exactly where to find the replays of the previous live sessions that we've done. We've done 4 live sessions using ChatGPT. I have a 5th one planned, but I haven't been able to execute on that yet. 5th one is I'm going to try to see if we can use ChatGPT for a data cleansing exercise. But this is all of the stuff that's available to you as part of the home. If you go to this live sessions and replays section, there's a bunch of different things here that I had no plans on talking about this part of it, but I'll give you a quick peek. So this is where you essentially come if you want to see what kind of live sessions we have planned. We have a minimum of 1 live session per month. But last month I think we had like 4 or 5, because I was doing a lot of ChatGPT work, and I was doing a lot of and I was doing them live. Essentially, our members were coming in and they're kind of giving me tips on what to do and what not to do. So that's essentially our live session area. And this goes back quite a few years. Like, we've been doing these kinds of live sessions for many years. I'm not much of a salesperson or a marketer, so I don't actually. I think the majority of business analysts out there probably don't even know that this exists. But if I scroll back far enough, you'll see that there are live sessions that actually go back a couple of years, where we're kind of talking about a lot of different subjects. And so as that loads up, it's having a bit of trouble loading here, but it goes back a couple of years. But this is where you essentially come and you can go through the replay of the workshops. We did a workshop a couple of weeks ago where we explored the concept of stakeholder management, right? How do you actually manage stakeholders well? And that is, talking about it isn't good enough. So what I had to do is, in this workshop, I kind of, to answer that question, essentially from our member, I went through, and we have this, I'll give you a quick peek. I went through and I basically just simulated a project. And so this is kind of like Peter, the project manager, goes on Teams and starts sending messages to Justin, trying to get him onto a project. And we basically just walked through how Justin would respond to a certain scenario. And then we talked about, and if you don't know who Justin is our junior level analyst here who has less than 3 years experience. So in this workshop, in this live workshop, what we did is I kind of walked through how I would expect Justin to answer Peter's question. And then we talked about how Ingrid would do it. And we saw the differences between a junior analyst and a little bit more of an intermediate analyst in really crystal clear ways when it comes to stakeholder management, because Ingrid has way more experience than Justin, and she doesn't take any nonsense from the project manager. She's still professional, but she knows how to kind of play the game a little bit better than Justin does. Justin's brand new to this game, and so he just does whatever he's told, and as part of doing that, he gets himself into a little bit of trouble, right? So this is kind of the workshop. This is the style of the workshop, but this is also the style of the actual course, because this is, for example, I'm just going to go to random places on the course here. This is Justin trying to reach out to the subject matter expert. I'm laughing here because Justin is not, he's doing it in the wrong way, but he's reaching out to the customer to try to figure out how to get the requirements. And this conversation doesn't go well at all. So if I go farther in here, you start to see that there's a lot of conversations, right? So anyways, I won't spend too much time on it, but this is kind of a live session that we all had, and we had the folks kind of come in here and kind of get a very crystal clear idea of how stakeholder management works. And going through it this way gives you the opportunity to figure out who are you closer to, right? In terms of your experience, and when you see the behavior of a Justin versus an Ingrid versus Shauna, Shauna is in a totally different, she's in a world of her own, and she deals with things very differently. When you start to learn things from the perspective of people who are actually kind of doing the work here, you can figure out, hey, am I closer to a junior level here, or am I closer to like an intermediate to senior level here, right? And there is a different level of business analysis that you can learn, but it's a different world, essentially, right? If you want to become a consultant, you want to kind of do a lot of the business transformation related work. It's still an extension of business analysis, but there's a lot more to it. So kind of learning things from this point of view really makes things sink in, right? And trying to teach this subject just by kind of walking you PowerPoint slides of materials, it doesn't even come close to teaching you what you actually really need to know. All right. So look, I could talk about this forever, but I'll look at the chat to see if we have any questions. Let's see, we talked about the cost. Thank you, Worth It. Thank you very much for that. We have Mayanek says, in the P3 framework you mentioned about entity models, interfaces, and other artifacts which require SQL and software development. Is SQL or programming language prerequisite for the course? Short answer is it is not a prerequisite for the course. And SQL in itself, so I want to kind of split that apart a little bit. So entity modeling is an analysis task, right? It's an analysis tool that you use to kind of describe the data layer of a solution. SQL is at the same layer, but it can be an analysis task, but oftentimes SQL is used as a reporting and data cleanup task. So we don't get into reporting heavily, which doesn't require us to learn SQL. Rishi and I taught a course on SQL to some of our students, and that's a whole different area. So that area of our program is going to eventually grow into a data management analyst certificate program. But you don't need to know SQL for this course at all. You don't actually need to know entity modeling either, because we cover entity modeling. I know it's not advertised, but when I say specifications, requirements and specifications, entity modeling is just one tool. There is actually even a better tool than entity modeling that I use very often called object modeling, that I also cover in the course. But the idea here is so short answer is that it's not a prerequisite for the course, but the bigger message here is that these things are all tools. The objective of the course is to teach you the tools, but not in a prescriptive way. I don't tell you which tools you have to use, right? I give you options. I say, okay, well, here's a requirement. How are we going to elaborate this requirement? Okay. The P3 framework tells us what layers of a solution have to be addressed. And from once you understand that, then you have a tool set available at each layer. And now it's up to you to say, okay, which tool set do I like better, right? Some people use entity models. I rarely use them. I use them from time to time, but I tend to use object models. That's my tool of preference. Both of them are valid, but I just have my preferences, right? Some people love user stories. Sure, I love use cases. Why? I believe they're far, far superior than use cases. And I explained that to you in the course about why that is. We go into a deep conversation about that, right? But the idea of the course and of the P3 framework is that once you learn the framework, the tools become the easy part, because then it becomes a matter of saying, oh, okay, I don't need to learn both entity and object modeling because they're both covering the data layer, right? I'm going to combine a tool set that gives me more breadth across all of these different layers instead of continuing to focus on one layer specifically, right? The purpose of the P3 framework is to kind of create a separation of concerns that an analyst is supposed to have, and then allow you to choose the tool set that works for you. Okay, and we cover all of this stuff in the course. You'll learn more about it, but that's the purpose of the P3 framework. And short answer is I'm sorry. I think I dropped off. It kind of threw me out of the conversation here. I just want to, if you can give me a quick thumbs up to let me know that we're still okay. Let me just see here. Are we still all right? I think it had thrown me out. Apparently, I don't know if the time's up or anything like that. It doesn't look like it is. But I'll share my screen again here, and we can continue on. Just give me a quick thumbs up and let me know that you can still hear me and that everything is okay. Okay, thank you so much, Vishal. All right. So I don't know where that cut off. But the P3 framework is that the framework teaches you what you should be concerned about, and it tells you what tools you have available. I teach you to kind of create your own tool set to produce what your stakeholders need using that framework. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I still have this open here, so there are a lot of other questions. So I think, yeah, it kind of threw me out, and a lot of the comments have been lost there, but I do see the comments in my other window here, so I'll quickly go through the rest of these. I said, I like the personal touch you give into this. And all right, you're great. Thank you for the feedback, Levy. And yeah, I love the subject matter. Like I've been doing nothing but this my entire life. So this is kind of, I've learned to love it over the years. I realized that data modeling and SQL are crucial to understanding the interview from the back end point of view. So are they helpful for the BA? I'll answer this question, Rashid, in two ways. Okay, SQL is used only on certain types of. It's only useful on certain types of products. So if you want to be working on SAP's HR system, for example, SQL is of zero use to you because SAP will not let you run queries on their database, right? So it all depends on the type of products you're working in. If you're working in an environment that has a lot of custom built applications using the custom built technologies like Microsoft's .NET platform or Java's platform or whatever platform it is, if they're custom building a lot of their solutions, in that case, SQL may be helpful, but only if you don't have a lot of systems analysts or a lot of programmer analyst at the company, then you as the analyst have to kind of take on a lot more of that technical work at the data level, right? The way that you tell is that you have to look at the job postings, right? And part of what we do in the career strategy, part of the reason why I do the career development, the way I'm designing the career development sessions, the way that that I am here, is because part of what we do here, the reason why I call this reverse is because you as an analyst find the job postings that you think you want to apply for, and we reverse engineer that into a career plan for you. That's why it's called reverse. And that's the most effective way of figuring out what skills you actually need, right? You shouldn't be, the people who should be telling you what skills you need are the people who are going to be hiring and paying you. And job postings are the best way to do that, all right? So I've said a lot here, and we're close to the end. We're about 5 minutes in. I'm going to keep going through the questions that we have here to see if there are any outstanding questions. What about the BA approach plan? So that is a more advanced subject. We cover it in the course, but I don't expect you to plan the BA approach. I give you Peterson and Baker's standard operating procedures on how business analysis happens, and it's your job to either challenge that or to use it to do your work, right? So I tell you essentially what the strategy of a business analyst is at Peterson and Baker, and so that kind of gives you an idea of what a BA plan or a BA strategy might look like. I do a lot of the high-level planning for you, and then when you come in, you're kind of like a team member. You're looking to me to do a lot of the planning and orchestration work. You're focusing on requirements and specifications, but we're kind of working together on this thing. Okay, that's the structure of our project. I understand that as a business, this needs to be feasible. So I hope you can look into the feasibility of making this affordable in the future. I appreciate that comment, Dipanjan. The plan is to look into that, and other students have asked to make this a lot more accessible. There are trade-offs. I've thought about it. I haven't done it yet, but there are a lot of trade-offs in making that happen, and I'll continue to consider it because I'll quickly tell you what the trade-offs are. Essentially, for the cost to be able to come down, there has to be a lot more of the material has to be pre-recorded, essentially, right? And there is a limit to how much of this can be pre-recorded and it's still being effective. And that's where the challenge is, right? If I make my entire course pre-recorded, like a lot of the other courses, a lot of the value you get out of actually learning how to do things, because a lot of your learning doesn't happen from watching a video. A lot of your learning happens in me giving you something to do, you trying to do it and coming back and saying, oh, I can't figure this out, why? And then me walking you through, right? The challenge is how do you balance live online courses versus pre-recorded courses? But I do appreciate the fact that you brought that up and the feedback is helpful. It may happen in the future, but I can't guarantee anything just yet. All right, you're very welcome, Vishal. And I think we have any other questions here? It looks like we have no questions. All right, we are at time in 1 minute. I hope this is going to give you an overview of everything that happens. I didn't plan on talking about our community so much. There are other pieces of our community that I haven't really talked about. We have a Q&A backlog and a bunch of other things that we use to kind of have all of our interactions and everything else. But we do regular polls, so our members come in and they kind of vote on the subjects that we're going to be covering, and the voting of the polls is what determines what we're going to be covering in our next live session. So there's a lot of those types of things going on inside our community. The links are here, folks. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I can stay a little bit longer. If you have any questions, if you have any further questions about the course, what you can do is if you go to that link, and if you come here to this book your 15 minutes piece right here, I've opened up some time in my calendar for today and tomorrow to help you folks kind of get an understanding of whether this course is right for you. And this is not a sales pitch. I don't want you to feel like you're going to come in a room and I'm going to try to
I'm going to try to kind of do a high pressure sales pitch or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It is the way that these conversations are going to happen is you come in, you explain to me what your situation is, and I'll give you my objective opinion of whether this course is for you or not. I've tried to talk other people in previous years out of taking the course, but they've decided to take the course anyway. So I won't stop you if you decide you want to take it, but I'll give you my objective opinion, right? And if it's not right for you, I'll just tell you it's not right for you and why and what you can do instead. So if you have those types of questions, just see if you can book in 15 minutes with me, and I'd be happy to do that. So I've opened up some time before the enrollment window closes. And again, enrollment window closes tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern. And the reason why that is because I need a full week to onboard you onto the course. And there's a lot of work that goes into kind of getting everything up and ready. So we have to have a deadline of Friday for that. The question is, you can look into making the price PPP adjusted for different countries if possible, because when paying salaries, yeah, that's right. I know the currency differences in between countries kind of makes it hard for certain people using certain currencies because the cost like explodes. I well aware of that, especially being here in Argentina. I'm very, very well aware of that fact. But yeah, I will do some more research into it as well to see if that's an option. It's not something I've had a chance to look into yet. Any other questions? We're at time. I've actually taken 2 extra minutes of your time, so I can cut it off here. If you have questions, you can type them in. I'll hang around for another couple of minutes here. And if you don't, and you feel that the course is not for you or a program's not for you, that's okay. Keep on showing up to the live sessions, because I'll be doing a lot more live sessions here on LinkedIn and on our YouTube channel. Up until now, it's just been inside of our community. We're just doing all the live sessions inside of our community, but I'm going to open it up and talk about some other things more broadly here. So keep on coming here and asking the great questions if you don't have any right now. All right, feel free to just click on my profile and connect with me as well, or just follow me, and you can stay in touch in that way as well. All right. So thank you everybody for coming. I don't see any other questions here. If you want to book me in, you have the links. The last workshop, if you didn't watch it, I'd recommend you do watch it, because I kind of talk a little bit about some of the pitfalls of signing up for training programs and how you can kind of avoid some of those pitfalls. But there's a lot of other materials that we have there. I think if you go to if you just go to bablocks.com/live, that is where I will be publishing all of the details of all of our live sessions from now on. So just bookmark that, and you'll see details of all of our future live sessions as well. All right. I'll leave this one here. Thank you everybody for showing up. If you're interested in becoming a business analyst and it's right for you, hey, looking forward to seeing you in the course as well. All right. So I'll cut this one off here. Thank you very much. And we'll hopefully see you on the next one. All right. Take care, everyone.